rate of return regulation. They are able to change their prices only under conditions that the rate of return is either too high or too low. So sometimes the regulatory body in the U.S. electricity market is sometimes we call State Public Utilities Commission. So this commission utility is typically integrated. Sometimes we call this integrated monopoly starting from generation, transmission, retailing. We call them a utility. Public utility commissions pretty much regulate the utilities about their rate of return. There are additional regulations about interstate transmission. So basically, how do we bring two monopolies from different markets together to make sure that the electricity gets transmitted between utility boundaries, between state boundaries, all that sort of things. So it's pretty much a different separate markets, but they are overseen by a higher body, and there are transactions done across different utilities. This is typical structure. We have a utility A that managed several generators, several substations, a control center, several substations, distributing electricity to its customers in this specific territory. We have utility B, utility C. They operate in special submarket, and we have some higher bodies to manage transmission of electricity between the boundaries. But these transactions are not that constant and frequent. There are third-party generators, but the role of third-party generators are just your private investors in the electric sector. You just put up some money, buy some generating units. You want to join the market, it's possible. You just need to negotiate with these utilities about using their electricity grid, figure out like how much I need to pay you using the grid, what kind of price are you going to offer, how do I join? You just work out with these utilities individually. Right, that's the structure of the traditional utility. The government had the view that would it just be better if we try to break up this integrated utility into several sectors. We group the all the generators into generation sector. We kind of nationalize, or let's say make the transmission sector centralized and government owned, and then we allow the retailers to enter into each other's market. So originally territory A, retail territory A is pretty much managed by utility A, but now we should be able to allow them entering each other's territories, offering different pricing plans. That's the basic story about electricity restructuring. The important components of structuring is, first, we need regulation on the transmission networks. We need some responsible government body or independent responsible government body to take control of the transmission. They were controlled by the utilities themselves individually, and now we're bringing them together. Imagine there are a lot of technical details to be sorted out. How do we kind of manage this transmission network? You need to allow free entry of unregulated electricity plants. Suppose you want to enter into this market, there shouldn't be regulatory obstacles for someone who are willing to produce electricity to generate, trying to make a profit out of the electricity generation sector from entering into this market, and allowing competition in the retail market as well. So that's the US restructuring exercises. There are the darker areas are where states experiencing restructuring in the electricity market. Remember, restructuring means that you are breaking up integrated monopolies, integrated in monopolist utility industry part, and you try to make the generation part a larger market, the retailing part a larger market, and then try to nationalize or set up an independent control center, integrated control center operating over the whole electricity grid, covering the territory of all these three utilities. As part of the reason when I'm saying in Hong Kong, maybe the improvement in efficiency from restructuring is limited in the sense that we just have two utilities. When you're trying to merge them into one, you have the competition from two utilities and against from trade from two utilities. It will be less obvious than suppose we have 10 utilities and they operate very different type of generation of generators. Some have fossil fuel generators, some have solar generators, some have wind generators, some have even other modes of generators. So the gains will be larger when the participants or the competitors are different, and so on and so forth. So what might change at power plants? So imagine you are a power plant, you're part of generators, entering from a traditional utility picture into a restructured electricity sector, how would your incentives to change and your behaviors to change? Originally, you're selling to yourself, pretty much, right? You belong to the same company. You're selling from one branch to the other branch of the same company. Now you're, as a power plant, you're competing with other power plants. So what might change on the power plant point of view?
Being in competition, you will be motivated to improve the efficiency of your plant and to find maybe better suppliers or to exploit in a more efficient way your resources, I suppose.
Sure. Right. So if you're a power plant, obviously you face competition. There are two sides of the story. One side of the story is that if your competitors are very pretty more efficient than you, if you don't change, you will be pushed out of the market. On the other hand, if you manage to become more efficient than your competitors, you could earn a larger share of the profits, but because now you can branch into their traditional markets, right? You can sell your electricity to more people. There will be lower costs, and in the long run, there will be extra exits and investment decisions. So the companies who find themselves just too inefficient will exit the market, and companies, new investors who want to take a bet in the electricity market will try to figure out ways, figure out higher return areas. So imagine I realize that under some new carbon emission plan, which encourages renewable generation of the market, I might earn a profit entering into a traditionally dirty electricity market by supplying renewable energy at somewhat lower cost, something along those lines. So the new investors who are aware of policies and market conditions will decide whether or not they want to enter into this market. Well, if you're one of these three utilities with guaranteed rate of return, you don't have a very strong reason to figure out things that you have never tried or figure out new modes of new modes of electricity generation, right? So let's have a 7 minutes break until 8 p.m.